Welcome to the Women's Motorsports Network podcast, the show that puts the spotlight on the incredible women who fuel the world of motorsports. From drivers to crew members, engineers to fans, and everyone in between, we're here to celebrate the trailblazers, dreamers, and doers shaping the sport we love. Each episode, we share inspiring stories of females of all ages from every corner of the motorsports universe, past, present, and future. It's a journey through the seasons of life filled with heartfelt moments, laughter, and a whole lot of horsepower. So whether you're a lifelong fan, a racer yourself, or simply curious about the extraordinary women behind the wheel, settle in, relax, and enjoy a fun and uplifting ride with us. This is the Women's Motorsports Network podcast, connecting and celebrating women in motorsports, one story at a time. Let's hit the track. Hello, everyone. This is Melinda Russell with the Women's Motorsports Network podcast. And my guest today is Alexis Whitaker. And Alexis, I want to first welcome you to the show. And then I'd like for you to share a little bit about yourself so the listening audience can get to know you a little better.
All right. Well, I'm Alexis. I am a 23-year-old college student. I currently just got accepted into the Doctor of Occupational Therapy program at ETSU. I drag race. I run Top Dragster and NHRA, and then we travel with that. And then I also bracket race. So I've been doing that since I was 10. I race with my parents. My dad races with me. So we travel the world doing that.
Okay. Do you have any pets?
I do. I have 3 cats.
3 cats. Okay. So how about siblings? Are you an only child or?
Actually, no, ma'am. I have a sister that is 14 years older than me.
Okay. So kind of 2 families.
Yes. And then she's got 2 kids. So they're kind of like siblings, halfway my kids.
Right. I had 2 kids and then I waited 10 years and had 2 more. So I kind of get that. How that works for sure. So Alexis, you started out, you're probably started in a junior dragster, I'm guessing, but why don't you tell me, how did you get started? You know, it sounds like maybe your dad, but how old were you and how did you get started?
So yes, my dad raised my uncle that passed away. He also raced. My dad raced way before I was here, and then he got out of it because my sister wasn't really into racing. So when they tore down Bristol and rebuilt it, Dad came back in late 2000s and started racing. He had an old Chevy Malibu that he raced. And then I was at the racetrack. I really wasn't into racing much. I was playing sports. I was doing taekwondo, basketball, all that fun stuff. But fun fact, I've actually had 5 knee surgeries because my kneecaps would dislocate. So they took me out of sports at kind of a young age. I had my first knee surgery when I was 12. So with like having issues with my knees, it kind of brought me into racing. My dad bought me a junior, and then here we are. We've been doing it since.
So I had knee replacement almost a year ago, and I'm getting along great.
Yeah, they're not fun though.
They're not fun. No, it's a recovery, that's for sure.
Yes, ma'am.
But I think I had gone to my doctor, a few years ago, and he said, when it's so bad that you are ready to do the surgery, so you just kind of wait and put it off, and then it's like, oh no,
Yes,
I'm
ma'am.
done. Yes, for sure. So I can empathize with 5 knee surgeries. Wow, Alexis.
Yeah.
So you said Top Fuel.
Top Dragster.
Oh, Top Dragster and bracket racing. So let's start with bracket racing. I have most of the people that listen to this podcast are familiar with racing, but I always have new people. So tell the listeners, what is bracket racing? And then we'll talk about that first.
Okay. Well, bracket racing has, depending on where you go, you have different categories. So you have like foot brake, super pro, juniors, motorcycles, all those fun classes. My class that I specifically race in is Super Pro. So basically, I run against door cars and dragsters. Some really fast cars, some really slow cars. But we have a trans brake button that we come off on the top bulb, and then it counts down and it leaves. So that's basically you dial your car, what you predict that it's going to run. So that's basically bracket racing in a GIF.
So if from the first pass you make to till you win, how does that work? You race against one other person, and then if you win, you move on.
Yes, ma'am. So basically, it's that way. So like you'll come into the lanes. It's random pairs. It's whoever you pull up against and end up running. So basically, if I'm the faster car, I would put their dialing in my car, and I would leave my dialing the same. So it will count down. And then if I win that round, I go to the next round.
Mm-hmm.
And you keep doing that until the finals.
Right. Okay. So, and then top dragster.
So top dragster it's very similar to bracket racing, but it's very different. It's way faster. I'm running against cars that are going anywhere from 180 to 250 mile an hour. Like they're
right.
Very fast. Majority of the time, I'm running quarter mile. Bracket racing is 8th mile. But top dragster, you qualify. So for NHRA, they only take the fastest 32 on property. And then based off how you qualify is who your opponent is, because we're on a ladder. We're on a sportsman ladder. So you pull up. The faster car always has lane choice. So for me, I'm one of the slower ones in the category. I never know what lane I'm going in.
Okay.
Majority of the time. And then basically from there, it's a bracket race. It's just a little bit longer and a whole lot faster.
Right. So do you prefer one lane over the other?
No, ma'am. I've honestly, especially with top dragster, I've gotten used to having to run whatever's given to me. And in a junior, my dad always told me, like, don't favor a lane because you never know.
Right. Right.
And each track is different.
Yeah, and you need to get good at using either one, right? Because you could come up to a big race or a final and be in a lane that you're not used to. And so,
yes, ma'am.
You know, it seems like a small thing, but it's bigger than people realize.
Yep.
Yeah, it is for sure. So tell me about your fast car. What's the fastest you've ever gone? Do you know?
Yes, ma'am. Almost 200. I was 198. We were it was at Gainesville. We were running nitrous. I'm trying my best to hit 200. But I was about 760s. No, 660s.
Yeah.
But
you'll get it. You're not that far off.
No, I'm not that far off, but it's just we don't run nitrous if we don't have to. We only run it if there is a full field, because for one, it's a lot of work, and for two, it can go bad real fast.
Yeah, and it's probably expensive too.
Yes, ma'am, and it is.
Yeah, all those things. And so if you don't really have to, you're not going to put that in your car. That's for sure.
Mm-mm.
So, excuse me. Which of the two do you like the best?
That's a hard question. Between bracket racing and top dragster? Honestly, I don't know. It's two different worlds. Bracket racing, because I grew up bracket racing, obviously, in a junior. We did do some NHRA with juniors, but majority of it I spent at Bristol bracket racing, or we would hit some big money races for juniors.
Okay.
So I have friends like on both sides.
If you had to choose one, that you could only do one, that's not fair, is it? Because you like them both.
Yeah.
Okay, don't answer that. Don't answer that.
Yeah, I'm gonna say I don't have an answer for that one.
Yeah, we're not going to answer that because that was not a fair question. I apologize for that. So, you know, what's your favorite thing about going to the racetrack every weekend?
Honestly, it's like a break from like life, I guess you could say. It's something that I truly enjoy. It's something I grew up doing and I hope to continue doing as I get older. So it's truly something like, yeah, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of time.
Mhm.
Obviously, I have sponsors that expect things from me. Um, so I have to put in time and energy into it, but it's just fun. Like I love going and spending time with friends and family.
Yeah. So do you want to share about your marketing partners or?
Yeah, so currently for the 2025 year, I have picked up Rut's Trailer again. They sponsored me last year. Um, they're great to work with. If you ever need a trailer or anybody needs a trailer, they're more than welcome to send me a message and I can help them find something. We do custom built trailers. We have trailers that are already on the market. Um, Financing is available for majority or all trailers, and we deliver worldwide. So
Okay.
very, very nice little setup that they have at Wright's Trailers. And then I have Whitaker and Air, which is my dad's company. Obviously, he's been with me since I started.
Right.
Um, and then we are fuel factory dealers. So if anybody needs fuel,
Okay.
send us a message.
Everybody needs fuel.
I know. Um, we started being dealers for them last year, and we are dealers for them this year as well. We run Fuel Factory. We absolutely love it. And it's pretty cool that it's like a racer, like it's a racer who made it, like
Yeah.
type of situation.
Well,
Uh,
you're supporting your own passion,
yes, ma'am.
people that love what you love.
Yes, ma'am. And then Butler built safety equipment. Um, They built me a custom port-in seat last year after the Charlotte National, and I absolutely love it. Um, they are definitely there for anything you need. I have headrests from them, safety padding. They're top notch.
Okay. All right. Sounds good. You can't do it without those people, that's for sure.
No, ma'am.
Yeah. So, everything keeps getting more and more and more expensive, and it is harder to find partners. Have you had to make any changes or anything? Um, had to cut back on anything, or are your partners loyal and you're able to just kind of continue? I have some people say, "Oh, I've had to cut back. I had to change this," and other people have gained new sponsors. So, what situation are you in, and how would you go about finding new sponsors?
Well, I actually have picked up races because for Wright's Trailer, we have to run so many national events. And they are very, very generous with what they give. So I honestly have had to pick up races,
Okay.
compared like last year, we hit it pretty hot and heavy racing. But I also, am out of school right now. I
Yeah.
graduated my undergrad in biochem. So I'm in a transition between going from working basically full time and going to school and racing to just racing and work. So I've had a little bit more time. Now, obviously, that's going
Okay.
to change come in May. Um, but no, overall, I mean, I've really not had to cut back anything. My parents work extremely hard for what they've given me, and I'm thankful for that
Yeah.
because I would not be where I am without them. They
Yeah.
have given me a lot to be able to do what I do and to be able to get sponsors. I mean,
Yeah.
that's
It takes all of you, doesn't it?
yes, ma'am.
Yeah, for sure. So, if you could look down the road 5 years from now, where do you see yourself in racing?
Hopefully, I'm still racing. 5 years from now, I'll be working as a doctor at that point. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I hope that I'm still, in a car racing, even if that means I'm having to cut back with NHRA because
Hmm.
that's a lot of traveling.
Yeah.
I would still like to be running a full circuit with them, and top dragster. Hopefully, finally hitting 200 mile an hour.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
That's a good goal to have for sure.
yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So, do you have a favorite track?
Oh, that's hard. So I'm gonna split them up. On the
All
East
right.
Coast, Bristol for sure. Bristol is my
Mhm.
home track. That is a track that I took my very first pass down. It's very sentimental to me, and it's a very nice track. West Coast would probably be Vegas.
Okay.
Vegas is very nice, which all of Britton Smith tracks are top notch,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
probably those 2.
Okay. All right. Is there a track you'd really like to run on that you haven't got to do yet?
Yeah, I can think of a few.
Okay.
I really wanna go more out west. My boyfriend lives in Louisiana, so definitely trying to hit some of the D4 races, like Belrose. I've heard that that one's a nice track. St. Louis is a track that I would love to go to. Indy. Indy's a big one. I've not been to Indy yet.
Okay. Yeah.
Hopefully, eventually, I will get there. Just it ends up the first weekend of school starts, the weekend that they
Oh, yeah.
can't ever can't ever make it.
Okay. All right. So, what was your biggest, or what is your biggest challenge? As far as like things you have overcome or still need to overcome to
Well,
be a better driver.
in top dragster, in my division at least, in surrounding divisions, I'm one of the youngest in the class, and there are very few females in top dragster. So when I very first got into it, that was something that I struggled with because I'm surrounded by older men that have years of experience on me. They have been racing for 30 plus years. Like it, that was something I struggled with. Now it's not like that. I've definitely overcome that. I've definitely raced some of the best in the world. So just like getting out of my head was something that I had to overcome because at the end of the day, it could go either way when you pull up to the line.
Yeah. Yeah. And you know, you think that any kind of racing is just getting in the car and driving the car. Oh no. It's
Ma'am.
the mental part is huge.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. And people don't always think about that, but it really is. Have you ever felt like you didn't fit in? Like with those when you started, or do they make you feel welcome?
Yes, ma'am. I will
Okay.
say that I've only had one instance. I had a man look at me at a track and I had to run him. And I think it was a tactic to more get in my head more say than it was him like actually meaning it. But it was he along the lines he said I didn't know women could race, basically. And I will say the men that were around that are in TD all just kind of just looked at each other. Was like, that was the wrong thing to say. Like
Yeah, for sure.
they
Definitely the wrong thing to
yes.
say. Yeah.
I would say most of the people that are in TD are top notch or in any racing. I've encountered a few, but very little
Yeah.
that have been bad.
They're the minority now, to compared to what it used to be for sure.
Yes, ma'am.
So, what are you looking forward to the most for the season to start?
Um, Honestly, probably just getting to race with my dad again. Like, he's had to take a here. So when I got transitioned from a junior to a big car, he stepped out of the car and let me race his Nova because my dragster wasn't ready. Um, And then we had motor issues, and then he went to a bigger motor, and just it was just a big thing. So he's not really got to race full time with me. He's traveled with me, taken me to racetracks. So honestly, just getting that family time, and then like I said, my partner also races, and just getting to watch him in the FX and the FSS car doing what he does is just
Just
I'm
what you do, isn't it?
excited. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just your lifestyle for sure. So, what do you do on a bad day? We all have them, whether you race a car or whatever it is. So, how do you overcome, those things that go wrong at the racetrack?
Honestly, I pray about it. Um, I'm at the racetrack majority of the time. I have headphones in or earbuds in, and I'm listening to gospel or Christian music, and that's how
Okay.
I keep myself kind of calm. Um, I just try to take it as there is a reason. why something didn't work out, and that's because God has that reason. And it could have been keeping me safe, or it could have
Mm-hmm.
been for somebody else. And the thing I really noticed is when you don't think you're being watched, you're being watched. And
Oh, isn't that the truth?
yes, and I've had a lot coming from juniors. There's a lot of little kids that I didn't think noticed me growing up that are now in juniors or now stepping into big cars that have come to me and been like, I've watched you race, like just the encouragement I get from that. And I'll
Mm-hmm.
never forget last year at Norwalk, I was in the lanes. It was like third round, I think. Um, there was this girl along the fence post, very young girl, about maybe 10, 11 at most. Now, mind you, I'm the only girl up there at this point. Like it's all guys. And for some reason, it just caught the corner of my eye. And she had this little writing tablet, and it said, "Good luck, Alexis," wrote on it. She was holding
Oh.
it up. And at Norwalk, we have like the the walkway is higher up than where
Mm-hmm.
you're in the lanes at. So I was like, oh wow, like I didn't realize like she had been watching me. And I walked over there, talked to her, took a picture and everything. And her parents told me she was like, she didn't want to come to the racetrack, and we talked her into it. And she's like, now she doesn't want to leave. Like she wants to get in the car because of you. That
Oh.
made my day. Like
Yeah.
that was something like I inspired another little girl to get into
Mm-hmm.
the car. And that's just something that I hope to always do. I mean,
Well, and you don't know how many others there are, Alexis.
yes, ma'am.
That's just the one you met. So that's pretty cool. And the other thing about that is a good lesson for people that are listening is people are watching. They're watching how you behave, they're watching how you race, whatever kind of racing you're in. They're watching how you behave when things go bad. They're watching how you behave if you're sitting in the stands and watching other drivers. And so, you're on display basically. So
Ma'am.
you got to remember that for sure. Um, do you have any superstitions? Do you wear the same socks or?
Um, no, yes. Okay, yes. My superstition is in the car. I have the same routine. And you can ask any preacher around in D2. I'm very big on praying. Like they will pray with me, and I ask for prayer. Like if a preacher prays with me and another preacher walks up, I take their prayer too. Like I pray before every round. That is something that just I've always done. Um, there's just some things, and then I'm the one that does everything. Like my dad obviously does like the motor stuff, and I help him with it. But like getting the car ready, I'm the one that does it, and I do his car, and that's just something that's something like it's the same routine every time.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's good. So, has being involved in motorsports, do you think it's, I don't want to say changed you, but made you the kind of person you are today? I guess what I'm trying to say is if you hadn't been involved in motorsports, how do you see things being different than what
Honestly,
you're doing?
um, yes, I'm a very family oriented person because of it. Because, instead of in high school or even in college, I didn't spend Friday nights doing stuff I shouldn't have been doing or at football games or basketball games. I spent them at the racetrack. I spent them with my family. So I definitely feel like it's made my family bond stronger.
Hmm.
And it's definitely made my work ethic high because my dad has always been, and even my mom, if you don't work for it, you don't do it. And that's keeping grades up in school. If I made a C, I was out of the car. I was not
Yeah.
in the car, couldn't do it. If I wasn't at the shop helping my dad work on the car, I wasn't racing. Um, so like those things have made me stronger.
Hmm. Yeah. And those are what I call life lessons,
Yes,
you
ma'am.
know, that carry on to everything else. So I take it from the conversation you had with the little girl, you think motorsports is a good sport for girls to be in?
Oh, yes, ma'am. I think motorsports is a good thing for anybody to be in,
Yeah.
because my neighbor, back when I was younger, my neighbor got killed in a drag racing accident on the road. Um, she got killed in high school. So I've always advocated that, keep it off the streets, take it somewhere safe. Uh,
Hmm.
So if that is an outlet for somebody to be able to do what they would love to do, it's there. It's an option.
Yeah.
Um, it's a safer option than racing on the street. And
Right. Yeah.
so, that little girl might grow up and one day want to do that.
Yeah. So, are there more women racing in against you now than there were, let's say even 2 or 3 years ago?
Yes, ma'am. I would say there are. I mean, it's not many, especially in TD, but there are more girls, definitely coming into top dragster, which I absolutely love. One of my best friends, um, in top dragster, her name is Sadie Glenn. She's like my little partner in top dragster. I see her roll up in the lanes. I'm like, yep, there she is.
Yeah. So, are you competitive with each other, or I mean, you are when you're racing against each other, but you're still friends when you come off the track.
Yes, ma'am. I would definitely say that we have a competitive side, just like anybody does. I mean,
Yeah.
um, but once we're off the track, we're best friends. I mean,
Yeah. Would you have any advice for anybody getting started, or, something you've learned the hard way, maybe as far as being in motorsports as a woman,
yes,
advice that you would give to someone?
don't give up because it's not easy. It's
Hmm.
You're gonna get your teeth knocked in more times than you're gonna see a win light. It's something that is very humbling, and if you think you're just gonna step in it and take off and do great, you might for a little bit. But at
Yeah.
some point in time, it is gonna get rough and it's gonna get hard, and just
Yeah.
honestly sticking with it and don't take the fun out of it, because the minute you take the fun out of it is the minute that you don't need to be in it because
Yeah.
it's not worth it.
Right. If you're not having fun, I mean, this is not, for some people, yes, it is their job. But even at that, if it's your job and it's not fun, then you might want to find something else to do,
Yes, ma'am.
because there's risk and expense and all the things. And why would you do it if you didn't enjoy it anymore?
Yes,
But people do. Yeah.
ma'am. All the time.
Do you have a favorite memory?
Um, with me, not like me outside the car, would probably be my best friend Sarah runs top alcohol dragster, and honestly, just seeing her race for the first time and her first round win, that one is probably my favorite outside of the car. Inside
Okay.
the car, um, would probably my first top dragster win. That
And how old were you?
On my first top dragster win, 20, 20.
Okay. Still young.
Yes, ma'am.
Pretty young. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, the one thing I think drag racing has over other kinds of racing, and as a driver, you may not always feel this way, but you're so accessible to the fans.
Yes, ma'am.
Um, NASCAR's pretty accessible. I mean, motorsports overall is more accessible than football or a lot of other sports, but sometimes it's probably a good thing, and sometimes it's like, oh, I just need to be alone, and then that's when you go to the hauler and or
Yep.
whatever. But how do the fan interaction has to be part of the fun part and part of the you see that's the part I would love the most. And
Yes, ma'am.
how do you feel about the fan part?
That is something that I have truly enjoyed because, you know, at the end of the day, I've had people ask me, like, you do something that's really cool. And I'm like, I mean, you could do it. Like, it's something that's accessible to you. And I think just having that fan interaction makes them feel valued. And that's something like when I was a kid, I remember just playing my junior, you know, I was a fan. I was a fan of the top fuel drivers.
Yeah.
Um, and just their interaction with me made it so much more memorable. So
Yeah.
I enjoy being able to sit and talk with them and learning about their life. Like, everybody's got a different outlook on things. Everybody's got a different
Hmm.
life than you have. And something that I might take for granted, they show me I shouldn't.
Yeah.
So it's just I enjoy the fans.
Well, and when you say everybody has a different life, I see that every time I do an interview. And you're like, "Oh, let's just say I interview 5 top dragsters. That's 5 different stories, 5 different, backgrounds, 5 different favorite memories, all those things." And so every story is different and every story matters. That's the thing that I always say. Every story matters because you don't have to be the most famous. You don't have to be Erica Enders. You don't have to be Kyle Busch. Your story matters and how you got there and why you love it, and the fact that you encourage other younger people to get involved. I love that part. So let's talk about social media for a minute before we hang up here. Um, we all use it. That's probably how I found who you were.
Yes, ma'am.
So, how do you use social media? What platforms do you use? And then also, how could we follow you and see where you're going to be racing and how the outcomes are?
Yeah, so I have a Facebook page. I have my personal page, Alexis Whitaker, obviously, but I also have a racing page. It's called Whitaker Racing. That's where I post like a lot of stuff for like my dad and I, like when we're racing and doing that. I also have an Instagram page. It's Whitaker Racing as well.
Okay.
Those are my two main
Hmm.
forms of social media.
Yeah. And do you ever have, I mean, it can get ugly sometimes, but have you ever had an issue with somebody and you have to block them, or pretty much people are pretty respectful?
I've had a few issues. I've had some not nice things said. But other than that, I really can't.
Yeah. And I always say, of course, the common term is keyboard warriors, but I always find that the people that are the most critical have never sat in a race car.
Yes, ma'am.
And so what do they know? You know? So those people really don't matter because they have no clue what they're talking about. And so you can just like brush that off, for sure. Yeah. I just read a great book, Alexis. I'm championing this book that my daughter shared with me, and then I happened to see the author on several TV shows. It's called Let Them, the Let Them Theory.
Yeah,
Have you heard of it?
I've heard of it. Yeah.
You need to read it or listen to it on Audible. And it's a short book. It's easy to listen to. And when somebody posts something or has to be, criticizing or other, let them. They don't know. They're not your friend, they're not your family, they don't matter to you, and so let them. And that book is life changing. It's a great book, so I highly recommend the book. I've listened to it on Audible, and I ordered the book because I'm a reader and I like holding the book. but for time's sake, I have to listen to it on Audible because then I can do other things. And but yeah, it's a great book. So
I'll have
uh,
to look at
yeah, you have to order it because it's sold out everywhere. Or
it.
get it on Audible, then you can have it instantly, for sure. So, is there anything that we haven't talked about that you want to share about yourself, your family, your racing, anything at all?
um, no, I mean, if anybody ever wants to reach out and has any questions, they're more than welcome to. Um,
Okay.
we're always looking for sponsors.
Yeah.
Um,
Where do you post your race schedule? How would we know where you're going to be?
I post them on Facebook, Facebook
Okay.
and Instagram.
Okay. And is it far enough ahead of time, or is it just kind of this weekend we're going to be here or there?
No, I try to post them ahead of time. So, like, I've already posted something for Gainesville that's in at the end of February.
Okay.
I try to post stuff ahead of time, just because you never know. Like, I have one girl, it's a mother and daughter that I met at Gainesville 2 years ago, 3 years ago, and every year they're always asking, and I try to see them, like,
Yeah.
so I know that that's like a key important thing for people to really,
to make plans.
Yeah,
for sure. Well, Alexis, I have really enjoyed listening to your story, talking to you today. I've got one more gal now that I got to try to follow. So whenever you post something, if you hashtag Women's Motorsports Network, it's easier for me to find you and see what you're up to. So make sure you tag me. And then if I can ever do anything or share anything about something exciting that's happened, you let me know. And that's what I do. I connect and celebrate women in motorsports, and that's you. So
thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. So thanks again for being on the show, and you have a good weekend.
Thank you for having me. You too.
That's it for this episode of the Women's Motorsports Network podcast. We hope you've been inspired by the stories I shared today and feel more connected to the amazing community of women in motorsports. Remember, whether you're behind the wheel, in the pits, or cheering from the stands, your story matters. And together, we're driving change and celebrating every milestone. If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to subscribe, leave us a review, and share it with someone who loves motorsports as much as you do. And don't forget to follow us on Facebook and Instagram for updates, behind-the-scenes content, and more incredible stories. So until next time, stay inspired, stay connected, and keep racing through life. This is the Women's Motorsports Network podcast, where every woman's story is worth celebrating.